Okay, thanks, Heidi. Good afternoon. I was invited by OCCA to express my opinions and thoughts that may assist you as immigrant parents and your children to become good Canadian citizens, to adapt and become successful in this new land you have chosen to live and raise your children. I have to apologize that I can only converse fluently in English. Understand that Heidi will be doing a translation of my presentation as I proceed. Okay, Heidi?
OK，大家下午好我会做一些简单的、快速的翻译，因为我们中间有个别的可能听不太懂英文，所以我们帮那个王先生简单翻译一下。王先生说：“大家下午好呢 ，OCCA 呢是邀请王先生来表达他的意见跟想法。那这些意见和想法也许可以帮助到我们的移民和我们的孩子成为更优秀的加拿大公民，在我们选择的这片土地上获取成功。那王先生因为他是本土的华裔，他不会说中文，所以我会配合他做一些简单的翻译。OK。”
I was told that the forum should be half-hour presentation, and then the last half hour would be for questions and answers. Now, this is a very short period of time to cover such a very large and complex subject. What I'm going to do is to give you briefly my opinions based on my experience growing up in Kelowna as a child whose parents were both immigrants from China.
OK， 所以我们今天的会议呢是安排的是1个小时。那吞王呢也会做一些简单的分享了，因为我们时间有限，一个比较大的概念的 topic， 所以他会根据自己的经验来根据自己在 Kelowna 的生活经历进行一个快速的一样的分享。那么大家有问题，我们可能一会儿再一起来交流。OK。
I'm going to start with a very brief recap of my parents. My father died in 1960 while I was in my final year of high school. Unfortunately, we never got much information about his family back in China, why he immigrated to Canada, how he ended up in Kelowna. Met and married my mother in 1937, who was a young widow with 2 baby girls. He was well educated in China, but he never did learn to speak or write in English. There was severe racism against the Chinese at that time, and the only employment available to the Chinese were the ones that the Caucasians didn't want to do. So he ended up working as a seasonal laborer in the orchards and farms. He and my mother then started to make tofu to supplement the family income.
我的父亲是1960年去世的，当时呢我正在读高中的最后一年，很遗憾，我没有了解到他的中国家人的信息，就是他为什么移民到加拿大，他最终为什么来到 Kelowna， 这些信息他父亲都没有告诉他。那并且呢，他父亲于1937年呢与他的妈妈相识并结婚。他的妈妈呢是一个带着2个女婴的年轻寡妇。父亲呢在中国是受过良好教育的，但是从未学过用英语说或写。当时对中国人呢，当时那个环境对中国存在着严重的种族主义，唯一可以做的工作就是白人都不想去做的工作，所以呢，他最终在果园里当了一个季节性的工人，然后之后呢，和他妈妈一起开始了做豆腐的生意。Okay.
My mother arrived in Vancouver on November 1st, 1918, at the age of 7, as an indentured servant. In other words, a slave. Her parents had sold her to a wealthy Chinese businessman, Wing Yip Sang of Vancouver. Now, understood this is a very common practice in those days, as the daughters were not deemed as valuable as were the male offsprings.
Okay. 我的母亲是于1918年的11月1日，就是在她7岁时作为一个奴隶来卖到温哥华的。她的父母呢是把她卖给了一个富有的加拿大华裔的华商，在温哥华叫温耶桑这个人的。这是当时的一个普遍做法，因为当时就觉得女儿不像男性后代那么受到重视。
Now, one of Wing Sang's businesses was he brought thousands of young Chinese men to work on the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway. He had 7 wives and therefore 7 families. He built a building with 7 floors to house a wife and a family on each floor. The building still exists on Pender Street in Vancouver, and it's called the Wing Sang Building. He had a young Chinese servant girl for each wife to help for caring of the children, to do the housekeeping and cleaning, bring in the firewood for heating and cooking and other chores.
OK。当时这位富商叫温英的他的一个业务呢，就是将数千名中国年轻人带到加拿大来做太平洋铁路的建设中。那这位富商呢，他有7个妻子，因此就有7个家庭。他建造了一个7层楼的建筑，然后这样他的每个妻子跟家人都有一层自己的一个楼层然后呢，这个建筑呢现在还存在于温哥华的一个叫 Pender Street， 被称为 Wing Sang Building。中文我不知道怎么叫，永生大厦嘛。他为每个妻子配备了一个年轻的中国奴仆来帮助他照顾孩子和家里的家务清洁做饭等。Okay.
Now, my mother didn't receive any formal education, and at the age of 19, she was resold to a wealthy Chinese merchant in Kelowna, who was 24 years her senior, to be his bride. They were married in 1929. They had 2 daughters, born December 31st, 1930, and May 6th, 1932. He was murdered on November 1st, 1932. The murder has never been resolved. It is believed he was murdered for the large amounts of cash he used to carry on, a reputation of carrying.
OK， 我的母亲是没有接受过任何正规教育的。19岁时呢，又被转卖给了比他大24岁的一个科罗纳的富商做他的妻子。那么他们是在1929年结婚，他们呢的2个女儿分别是在1930年的12月31日跟1932年的5月6号出生。然后呢之后呢，他就在1932年的11月1日又被谋杀了。这个谋杀案到现在也没有破。那据说是因为带了大量的现金而被谋杀的。OK。
Now, she became penniless as a result of not understanding English, didn't understand business, and unscrupulous members of the Chinese community. She met and married my father in 1937, who was 16 years her senior. Together, they had 5 sons and 4 daughters. Her family now totaled 11 children, and I am number 5.
OK， 1937年的话，因为他的母亲她既不懂英文，也不懂任何的 business 商务，身上身无分文，也没有其他的谋生手段。这个时候他遇到了比他大16岁的，也就是Tun Wong他的父亲，然后他们就结婚了。之后他们就共同有了5个儿子跟4个女儿。他的家庭现在就有11个孩子，那他是第5个。OK。
In 1960, my dad passed away, and my mother was once more a widow, still with 7 children in school. I offered to quit school and go to work along with my 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, but my mother would not hear any of that. I think because she realized the importance of education, that she did not receive herself. She insisted that we all had to at least get our high school graduation. She struggled and sacrificed a lot, but we all made it and became successful. She attended all our high school graduation ceremonies with pride and beamed when her grandchildren started to graduate from university.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit more. We always worked after schools and all summer holidays. All the money that we earned was always the family's. Our mother is the person who most influenced our lives and our admiration. She struggled financially and sacrificed to raise all. She never gave up on us, and that made us more determined not to fail or disappoint her.
Okay.
Thank you.
1960年呢，他的父亲去世了。这个时候呢，妈妈又再次成为了一个寡妇，有6个孩子还在上学。然后呢 ，Mr. 王就提出要主动退学去工作，还有和2个已经高中毕业的哥哥呢，2个姐姐一起去帮忙抚养6个弟弟妹妹。但是他的妈妈不同意，因为他觉得可能是他妈妈意识到教育是非常重要的，所以他坚持要求他们至少每个人都要高中毕业去学习。他在生活中呢，他妈妈在生活中当然一个人要带那么多孩子，面临了太多的挣扎跟牺牲。但是呢，他们最后都做到了，都取得成功，并且最后他妈妈很自豪地参加了他们所有孩子的高中毕业典礼。然后呢，在他的孙子们开始从大学毕业的时候呢，他妈妈就感觉特别开心。总是在放学，但是他们所有人总是在放学之后或者是假期去做全职工作，因为挣了钱呢就给整个家庭，是属于整个家人的。那他们的妈妈呢对他们的生活有很大的影响，这是令人非常敬佩的，尤其是在经济非常拮据的情况下，然后为了抚养这么多孩子，确实做出了很多的牺牲，但是他从来没有放弃过他们中的任何一个人，这就让他们所有的孩子更加坚定了，就不要怕失败，也不会让他的妈妈去失望的决心。
Growing up as in Kelowna as the only Chinese family in the 1940s, and my mother being the only Chinese lady, we experienced racism and discrimination, but we also met some of the kindest and helpful Caucasians because of our involvement in activities in the community.
从1940年代作为唯一的中国家庭在 Kelowna 长大的一个对这样的一个家庭，那他的妈妈呢也是唯一的中国女士，他们在成长经历中遇到了很多种族的歧视，但是由于他们积极参加了社区活动，同时呢他们也遇到了很多善良的和乐于助人的一些西人的家庭。
Now I'm going to give you my thoughts to assist you as immigrant parents to deal with becoming good Canadian citizens and your children to integrate. Remember, it's your decision to immigrate to Canada. I don't believe any of you were forced to come here.
OK 接下来呢，王先生就会给我们一些他的想法，来帮助我们移民家庭来处理好这些关系，从而能够就是成为更良好的加拿大公民，以及他的帮助我们的孩子更好的去融入这个社会。那我们首先要记住，我们移民加拿大来呢，都是我们自己的决定，那没有人会逼我们要来到这里，这是我们自己的选择。OK。
I think some of the reasons you may have immigrated to Canada may have included some of the following. Canada provides a better opportunity to be successful, and not only to yourselves, but also for your family. Canada is a democratic country, better than a lot of other democratic countries. You may have had family and friends that had immigrated to Canada before you so you may have had some familiarity with Canada. Canada provides excellent and affordable education.
OK， 好，接下来呢是他分享的一些移民可能我们今天在这里团聚在一起的原因第一呢，我们加拿大呢是一个民主国家，这比较优于许多其他的民主国家。另外呢，有可能我们移到这里也有自己的一些家人或者朋友，在我们来之前就已经移到加拿大了，所以我们在这里可能已经有一些一定的了解。那加拿大呢，它也会提供一些优质，并且我们可以负担得起的教育，还有一个它的独特之处之外，就是说，除了本土的这个土著居民之外，其他所有的移民其他所有的人都是移民。所以当我们遇到有些人说让我们回到中国之类的不是很友好的话，我们其实可以告诉他们，这里除了土著居民之外，其他的人基本上都是从不同国家移民来的。OK。
Canada is unique in that, other than the indigenous population, everybody else is an immigrant or a descendant of an immigrant. Canada has a record of less racism, but you must learn how to deal with it. When I started school, I was the only Chinese student at that school and the only one that didn't have white skin. My two older brothers and two older sisters were in a different school. I noticed that they used to come home from school crying because they were teased about being different, that is not white. I had made up my mind I would not give in to the teasing. My father, who spoke very little English, delivered me to the school grounds on my first day of school and left me, telling me to listen to the teachers. All the other kids entering grade 1 had one or both parents with them. I was petrified and self-conscious. I saw a little boy talking with his dad and pointing at me. This little boy then approached me and asked if I was a chink. Now, this is a derogatory term for describing Chinese people. I responded by bloodying his nose. Of course, I was hauled into the school by the teacher and told me that they do not tolerate fighting. They ignored that racism was being committed. The first 2 weeks of school, I had to fight every day after school as different boys challenged me. So why did it stop? Children are not born with racist thoughts. That is passed on to them by their elders. I found the children respect you for what you can do. In my case, I was above average in both sports and academics. Suddenly I'm popular and in demand when they choose sides in pickup sports at recess and after school. In secondary school, if you become a member of the rep teams, you are treated as the elite in the schools and held in high esteem. They also respected the students who got high academic marks.
Okay. 加拿大呢，其实就是也会有少量的种族歧视的记录，但是呢，我们要学会如何去处理它。那在刚开始上学的时候呢，我也是那所学校里面唯一的一个中国学生，也是唯一一个没有白皮肤的学生。我的2个姐姐和哥哥呢，在不同的学校。那我注意到了他们。过去呢，常常在放学回到家就会哭，因为他们被嘲笑与众不同，而不是白人。当时呢，我就已经下定决心，我不会屈服于戏弄。于是，因为他的父亲不会英文，所以在他上学的第1天，把他送到学校之后呢，父亲就离开了。他告诉我说要听老师的话。所有其他进入1年级的孩子呢，都有1个或2个的父母陪伴。那当时呢，我被吓呆了，我很自觉。我看到有个小男孩和他的爸爸说话，并指着我说：“小男孩走近我，问我是不是中国佬 Chick。” chick 这个词是形容中国人的一个很不好的贬义词。那我就通过一些就回击他，让他鼻子都流血了这样的一个回应的方式。当然之后我也被老师拖进了学校，并告诉他们，并告诉他们他们说不能够容许打架。但是他们忽视了种族主义正在发生。开学的前2周呢，我每天放学都会要打架，因为不同的男孩都会向我发起挑战。那我就不知道为什么我不要反抗。孩子们都不是天生的种族主义思想，这可能是他们长辈传给他们的。后来我发现，孩子们要想尊重你，那是因为你能做什么。就我而言，我在体育跟学术方面都高于平均水平，所以他们在课间休息和放学后的一些运动之中呢，就会表现得非常的优秀，所以就会受到很多欢迎跟需求。那在中学的时候，如果您能成为代表团队的成员，您就被学校也就是说会被学校当成精英对待，就会受到高度的尊重。那孩子们其他学生也会尊重成绩优异的学生。
Now, what should you do? Encourage your children to integrate and not mingle just with their own ethnic groups. Make friends with people in other ethnic groups. Encourage them to bring their friends over so these kids get an exposure to the Chinese people and their culture. Now, they should join and participate in various sporting and other activities that are available. Sports teaches you discipline, teamwork, hard work is required, the pleasure of winning and the disappointment of losing. It reflects what you will experience in real life. I have found that your teammates will be your truer friends because they have gone through this together with you. Other activities also provide the same, but not in a physical way. You are part of a team with common goals.
OK， 所以接下来王先生给我们的建议就是，首先呢，要鼓励您的孩子融入到自己的族群里面，融入到我们的本来的那个族裔的群体里面。但是呢，我们又不仅仅只是在我们的族裔里面，我们也要与其他的一些 local 的朋友或者其他族裔的朋友交朋友。第二呢，我们要鼓励他们，要邀请他们所有的朋友过来，让孩子们可以接触到更多的中国人和我们中国的文化。那第3个呢，就是应该多参加和参与各种各样的体育活动或者其他的一些活动。那体育呢，同时它会就是 sports 会教给我们怎么自律、纪律性，以及团队合作性，以及我们需要很努力和甚至中间的一些获取的喜乐、输赢后的喜乐。那这些东西正好是反映在我们现实生活中的需要体验的一些东西。那我也发现，就是说您的队友将会成你这一生中真正的朋友，因为你们在一起经历了这一切，你们是一些拥有共同目标的团队的一员。
You as a parent should also take an active part in your children's activities. There's such things as being team mothers, fathers, volunteering with them in fundraisers. This will help you to integrate, same as your child. Attend your child's games. You don't realize how much your child plays and tries harder when their parents are in attendance. They try to impress and make their parents proud of them. And encourage and hug them, particularly if they lose. I've played on many championship teams, won many awards in sporting events, and experienced many defeats. My biggest disappointment was my parents never ever saw me in competition. I got hugs, congratulations, and consolations from my teammates, from their parents, but it's not the same as getting it from your parents. They want you to be there to support and be proud of them. It helps you as parents to integrate with the parents of your teammates and enlarge your contact group.
OK，所以呢，作为父母呢，我觉得您也应该积极的参与到孩子的活动中，即团队的父亲跟母亲，或者是一些募捐者的志愿者，这会有助于您与孩子，就融入您的孩子，跟孩子一样。然后同时呢，要参加您孩子的活动，一些游戏。如果你有没有意识到，当他们的父母在场时，就是当你们在场时，你们的孩子玩的时候就会很努力，就是想给父母留下很深刻的印象，让自己的父母感到骄傲。那同时呢，我们也就是鼓励和拥抱自己的孩子，尤其是当他们输了的时候。我努力过很多冠军球队，在体育赛事中获得了很多的奖项，也经历过很多失败。但我最大的失望就是我的父母从来没有来参加过我的比赛，我得到了队友和他们父母的拥抱、祝贺和安慰，但是这跟自己的父母是不同的。他们就是你还是希望你可以在父母那边得到他们的拥抱和支持，让他们以你感到自豪。然后呢，他这样子还可以帮助您作为父母来与您的孩子的队友，也可以成为朋友。
Let your children learn to determine their future careers. Be their guide and assist. The Chinese and many ethnic groups have historically tried to guide their children into high-profile professions, such as medical doctors, pharmacists, accountants, lawyers, engineers, but not all of them are suitable for this, and possibly it's not their desire. There are so many other careers that they have access to. Many trades and other skilled jobs are available and very rewarding. Let them decide. It's their lives to live. Today, a person no longer chooses and stays with one career. It's now more common they will change, and in many cases, make numerous changes as they mature and gain experience.
让孩子们呢学会决定他们未来的职业，在那里指导和协助他们。那通过以前的历史上，中国人和许多民族呢，都是很想试图引导他们的孩子进入一些高知名度的职业，比如说像医生啊、药剂师啊、会计师、律师、工程师等。但是并非所有的人都适合这些职位，可能也不是他们的理想。他们还有很多其他的职业可以去选择，许多的行业和其他的技工工作都可以用，让他们自己去决定，这是他们的生活。那么今天呢，一个人不再选择和坚持一种职业，我们通常见的他会随着自己的成熟和经验的积累，他的职业也会发生变化，并且在很多情况下可能发生很多次变化。
Even though it's probably more comforting and easier to choose to reside in an area with your own ethnic group, it's actually a detriment to your assimilation into the Canadian culture. Reinforce to your children to be proud of their heritage. Be proud of, practice, and preserve the Chinese culture, customs, and language, but do not try to force them onto others. However, remember that you chose to emigrate here. It's also very important to learn either English and or French. These are the two official languages of Canada. Commerce and trade is worldwide, and Mandarin is now being offered in some high schools. So your child will also have the wonderful opportunity to learn his own language and to expand his own marketability in the business world. It is never a detriment to be able to communicate in another language.
尽管选择居住在我们您自己族裔群体的地方可能会令人欣慰，但实际上呢，这并不利于我们更好的、更全面的去融入加拿大的文化。那鼓励您的孩子为他们的 culture 或者遗产感到自豪，要为自己的中国文化、习俗、语言要感到自豪。并且要经常的去实践和保留传统下去，但不要试图将它们强加于别人，因为这是我们要移民在这里要尊重所有的文化。那学习英语和法语也很重要，这是加拿大的2种官方语言。那不管是商业还是贸易，这些都是世界性的。一些高中呢，他们也会提供普通话，就中文。因此呢，您的孩子也将有很好的机会去学习自己的语言，并扩大它，然后使他在商业竞争中更有竞争力。那么，能够应用多一种语言，总归会有更好的多一次机会。对。
Both you, the parents, and the children should volunteer in community groups and functions. This expands your contact groups, your knowledge, and communication skills. You will find tremendous personal satisfaction from these activities. Volunteerism and community service is now a very important factor in determining the awarding of scholarships and bursaries and in hiring practices. Learn to act as Canadians. Canadians have a world reputation of being polite, respectful, and courteous. I've noticed in some of the ethnic events that I've attended where the attendees do not respect their invited guest speakers by remaining silent while the speaker has the floor. You may not agree with the speaker or his or her politics, but he or she is an invited guest, and you must respect his or her office. It's just common courtesy. Remember the golden rule. Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
OK， 您和父母和您的孩子都应该在社团或者活动中就要经常的去做志愿者。其实，在做志愿者这个文化在加拿大还是比较常见的。那做志愿者可以扩展您的联系人，包括您的知识和沟通技巧。那您也会从这些活动中呢获得很多个人的自我满足感。那志愿服务和一些社区服务呢，现在通常会决定奖学金和助学金的颁发以及招聘，就实际招聘中这些都是一些非常重要的因素所在。那另外呢，我们要学习像加拿大人一样去行事。加拿大呢是很典型的非常有礼貌和尊重，礼貌而闻名于世的。那我们注意，在我们参加一些活动中，民族活动中，要学会尊重其他的人。比如说在邀请一些嘉宾上，如果在嘉宾发言时，我们就要保持该有的礼节。如果举个例子，您不同意嘉宾的观念，或者是他的一些 political 政治的想法，那我们也要选择去尊重他，而通过一些礼貌的方式去面对、去解决事情。我们要记住一个黄金法则，就是我们希望别人怎么对我们，我们就要怎么去做这件事情。对。
Remember that racism works both ways. I've experienced it when I told my mother that I'd gotten engaged to a Caucasian lady. She was very angry and said I should be marrying a Chinese girl. A white girl was not good enough for you. It would have been tough because we were the only Chinese family in Kelowna. And so finding a Chinese bride would have been almost impossible. I was also too Canadianized, and a mail order bride from China was not for me. My mother totally changed when we had our first child. She became the doting Papua. She spoke very little English, and somehow she seemed to be able to communicate with the grandchildren and my wife. Then later, Her 5 youngest children all married Caucasians, and many more grandchildren. She spoiled them all.
OK，所以记住，有时候我们所说的种族主义其实是双向的。我个人的经历就是当我告诉我的妈妈我要和一位白人女士订婚时，我的妈妈非常生气，说我应该娶一个中国女孩，一个白人女孩对我来说是不够好的，这样就会很艰难，你们生活在一起。因为当时我们是 Kelowna 唯一的一个中国家庭，所以不可能找到中国新娘、中国的一个妻子。我也非常的加拿大化来自中国的，比如说你从中国才邮寄一个妻子给我，也是不适合我的。所以呢，但是当我们有了第一个孩子之后，我的妈妈就完全变了，她变成了一个非常宠爱孩子的一个奶奶。她说的英文很少。但是不知何故呢，他就开始与他的能够跟他孙子啊，跟他的妻子就开始能交流了。后来呢，他的5个最小的孩子呢，也都嫁给了白人，还有很多的孙子孙女儿，他都很宠爱那些孙子孙女儿。
I've also personally experienced the racism in Richmond's Chinese community, who practice that against people who do not speak Mandarin. It's common knowledge this is widespread in Richmond. This is very unfortunate because in the general public, how can you claim racism against you when you practice racism against your own ethnic group? We are all probably aware of the increase in racism against Asians throughout the world today. There are many reasons for this, and a few of them are as follows. A lot of the perpetrators are people we call losers in our society. They are jealous that through their own actions or lack of, they have not been successful themselves, financially, socially, or in life in general. They see the media where Asians hold many positions of authority, are in high-profile professions, and are very successfully financially. When you hear them say, go back where you came from, it really reflects how unintelligent they are. In Canada, as I mentioned before, unless you're Indigenous, you or your ancestors are from somewhere else. We look physically different from them, even though when you think of the white-skinned people are very mixture. COVID-19 started in China, so they blame all Chinese for the pandemic. The actions of the Chinese government reflect on us. Their violation of human rights, they do not honor treaties and governments. They cannot be trusted. They are not a democratic country.
那我也亲身经历过在 Richmond 的列治文华人社区那里呢也发生过一些就是有一些种族歧视，那些是就是你华人社区对不会说普通话的人会有一些歧视。那众所周知呢，在 Richmond 也是很普遍的。也觉得非常的不幸，因为对普通大众来说，当你对自己的群族实施种族主义的时候，那我们还有什么权利去声称说别人有什么种族歧视呢？所以种族歧视往往是双向的，我们要从自己的身上去经常反省。那我们可能都知道，最近全世界对亚洲的人的种族歧视有所增加，那造成这些情况的原因有很多。那其中一些原因，比如说这里有很多 就是应该是社会上面的失败者，他们并不是很成功的人，他们嫉妒那些通过自己的行为，就是嫉妒这些移民过来的人，比如说他们觉得移民过来的人在经济上或者是在社交和生活上，就是比他们都优越，然后他们在这些方面都没有取得成功，所以他们在媒体上看到亚洲人好像担任了许多权威职位的人都在一些非常高调的职业中，并且在经济上都非常的成功。当你听到他们说你回到你来的地方，然后这就反映了他们其实内心都有一些歧视的，那这种行为也是很不聪明、很不明智的。在加拿大呢，除非您是原住居民，否则您和您的祖先都是来自于其他地方，大家都是从不同地方移民过来的。那另外就是我们看上去从 local 的新人士还是在身体上看上去有点不一样的，我们不是那些白皮肤这样子。另外呢，因为还有一个原因，可能就是因为 COVID-19 最早听到是从中国传来的，因此呢，很多人也会把这种原因归到中国人的这些原因。
These are some of the factors, but there are many more that could assist you and your children to assimilate successfully in Canada. Again, I stress that these are my opinions formed from my growing up as a visible minority in Canada. I'm going to cut off my presentation now so that we can have some time for your questions, and hopefully I will be able to answer them for you. I do state that I'm a proud Canadian of Chinese descent. I have never forgotten the suffering and sacrifice the early Chinese immigrants to Canada, including my parents, endured so that I had the opportunity to be a Canadian and enjoy the life I have. The future for my descendants in Canada appears very bright, as I believe as it is for you and your family. Thank you for inviting me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. 这些就是我觉得的一些因素，但是呢，还有很多因素，还有更多的因素可能也会影响到您和您的孩子在加拿大成功。那再次强调，这些都是我作为加拿大的，作为加拿大人来一个个人的成长经历的一些观念的形成。那接下来呢，我们就因为时间原因就不会再进行更多的一些讲述。那王先生也是自己觉得自己非常，作为一个华裔，他也会觉得很自豪。那生活在加拿大，他也觉得非常自豪。现在他的孩子呢，都有了一个非常非常不错的工作跟生活，那他也觉得很欣慰。那也相信我们在座的每一个家庭也会在加拿大取得自己的成功。接下来呢，就是我们要谢谢谢谢王先生的参与。好。Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Wang. Thank you, Mr. Wang, for your sharing. Okay. Now is our question and answer and free communication part. And if you have any questions, and you can mute yourself. Anyone who has any questions that you would like to ask Tun Wong, or any ideas or any suggestions you want to share here, and you can unmute yourself. Let's free talk. Is any questions? No.
No.
Yeah, actually, I am very expressed by your experience, and I remember when I have in-person talking with you, and in last month in May, and you're sharing your son and your daughter their lives in Canada. That was amazing. Yeah, so your experience, yes, is very helpful for us to know, and yeah, we can learn something, and especially we know, yeah, we did have our friends told us they didn't met someone come to their kids to say, go back to China, and that makes the kids feel very hard, and he feel so hard. Yeah, But now we know, and to all the Canada, and except the local, the original, the people, every people is coming from all different countries. Then we all immigrate. So when we come back, and you should come back to your country, right?
That is true.
And it's
And
also.
I think that, yeah. And I think that they don't seem to realize that it's only that we look different. We don't have white skin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But they themselves don't realize they are also from somewhere else.
But now I think it's better, much better than before. Yeah.
Things are improving, and but there will always be the people who practice racism. And a lot of it is because they're weak people. I think, Canada's not perfect, far from perfect, but I still think it's way better than anything that's second to us.
Yeah, yeah. And also when I came to Canada, also now I realize the volunteers are also important, especially for the kids who are studying high school. That's also very usable for their university application, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The society recognizes people contributing to the thing. They're looking for rounded people who are unselfish, who want to help out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there are lots of people with great academic records, but if you don't have any sense of contributing to back to your society. So that's been quite a change in recent years. Even when we were hiring, you always look at the record of what the person did for a community. So you're looking for that rounded person. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone? Does anyone have any questions today?
I have one question.
Okay, great.
You mentioned about China, the racism, but it's not about racism. It's like recently the states, Biden, that made lots of lies of China on the TV everywhere. So my daughter's classmate was talking about China in the classroom and made her think it's ignoring. So I don't know how to teach her how to deal with those stuff, because you cannot stop states to make lies. But the kids, they will learn from the TV.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand that question.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Like recently on the TV, like US TV, lots of programs talking about China.
Yes.
And lots of those information are not true. Like they want to go against China for the states, right?
Yes.
So the student, they probably learn those information from the TV. So they are talking about China at school. And that make my daughter feel ignoring. She's not mad, just ignoring. It's like disturbing her. I don't know if you have any suggestions how to deal with those situations. It's nothing like personal. They didn't do anything to her. It's just when hear them talking, make her not feel like happier or something like that.
That's an extremely interesting topic that you brought up, because the press always sort of gears a story to the way they want to tell it. You can't believe all the stories as exactly what is reported. There is no doubt that truths are twisted, particularly with the US. I don't have a lot of respect for like the US government, the way they operate. They are not a true democracy if you look at the way their elections are run and all that. And of course, the press will take their side against any of their opponents. And of course, when you had a leader like Trump, who I don't think is a rational person, you have to try and read between. But then what your question dealt with was the young children who don't have the experience yet. They're being faced with thinking that these are all the truths. And of course, the story is all one-sided. You only hear the Western side of it and not China. It's a difficult thing of trying to figure out what is true and what is fiction.
Like, how can I teach my kids how to deal with those situations? Like, what currently I just told her to just ignore it. Because maybe her classmate heard from the TV of their parents and they got opinions, but it's not, what I told her is not big deal at school because everyone will grow up. They have their own opinions, that's okay. That's what I told my daughter, but sometimes just make her be ignoring it. Yeah. Do you have any suggestions or just let her go, like something like that?
Well, I don't think they should ignore it. I think they probably should take a proactive stance to ask questions and question what they're being told. Ask that. It takes a lot of courage to stand up, to say, is that really true? What about this? Do you have all the facts? It's a very tough question, and as it is, if you're a minority in the class and you're trying to stand up, and the others all take the side of what the press has come out, you've got to have a lot of courage to stand up and question it. But the right thing here is they should question it. They should question, say, is this really true? I've heard this, or I'm aware of this, and bring it in as a discussion so that others get involved. We're in a world where you could gather a lot of information yourself off the internet, their opinions and all that. But also hatred and racism is also passed through those modern communication places. But I would encourage your child to listen and then question. At least she gets out there, but I don't think you should sit back and just accept that. Always question if you're not sure.
Good, because when her classmates talking about the topic, they are not talk about to her. She just overheard that one, so she doesn't know if she should step in to be rude or something like that, or to disturb someone's conversation, and to looks like she thinks it's strange if you just step in some other people's conversation, right? Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Okay. Any other questions or any ideas you want to share here?
Hi, Mr. Wang. May I have one question? As you mentioned, you were the only Chinese family in Kelowna. So why at that time would your family move to Vancouver? Do you think that it's have more opportunity to live in big city for the new immigrant because there are language and culture different between the new immigrant and the local Canadian? What's your opinion?
Well, growing up in Kelowna, the only family, so my older sisters and one of my older brothers. And then later, my younger brother, sisters and brothers all moved out of Kelowna. There's only a brother and a sister left out of the 11. All the rest live in other towns in Calgary, on the island and that. And it was to pursue their careers. The thing is that none of us spoke other than English fluently. We did speak Cantonese at home to our parents. But the thing was to choose your careers. I always felt that if I was going to choose a career, I was going to work where it was integrated with everything. I wasn't going to work just with the Chinese groups or this type of thing. Canada is a mixture of all races, and all my friends are a mixture. There's no such thing as I only have Chinese friends or I only have white friends. If you look at my wife, who's Caucasian, she's more integrated into the Chinese culture than she is with her own culture, which is she's got a French father and a British mother. But the celebration of cultural events, she's inclined to go to the Chinese culture. So when you talk about selection, Canada is a mixture, as I mentioned. Get involved. And that's where I've got.
Thank you.
So any other thinking thoughts for sharing? Okay. Okay. No. No. Okay. Okay. So yeah, thank you. Anyways, thank you all for the communication. And yeah, oh, it's already time there. So we need to quickly finish our meeting. And at last, I still hope you guys can help me to finish a feedback survey. I already sent the survey in the chart here. And yeah, you can click click the chat and you will find a link. This feedback survey is important to me because when you filling out the survey, that I can know what are you thinking about our programs and how can we do it better and better, such as the meeting time and it's too long or too short, or what topics you would like for the next sessions. So please help me to finish this survey. And I already made it into bilingual, English and Chinese. You can finish it by English or by Chinese and send the survey in the chat here. So just click the link and fill it out. Hope we can arrange more and more better seminars later, okay? So thank you. Thank you, Tun Wong, for your sharing, and thank you all for your participation. Hope see you all next time, and have a good weekend. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Dr. Meng, you are muted. 你可以把自己 unmute yourself.
Tan, I have